Good evening and welcome to the Coach's Box, live from the Brick Bistro in Festus, Missouri. Thanks so much for watching tonight. Ray Halbrook here, owner of Livestream STL. We are down one tonight, but I will say this is our second half of a doubleheader, so we will get things rolling. Don't forget to turn down your music. There you go. Got to make sure we got everybody's phones turned down and whatnot. We've got everybody. I'm going to turn everybody's microphones back on. Here we go. And Matt Schutte, you are wearing the Bubba Gump Shrimp shirt today. How about that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How about that?
Here we go.
And we've got another hot stove take here of the Coach's Box. So tell us a little bit about what we got going on tonight.
There's all sorts of news going on. So first, I think, Ray, you had carried it just earlier today. Our friend of the show, Zach McVeigh, has been announced as the new girls basketball coach at Jefferson R7. Friend of the show, been on the show I think a few weeks ago. Had a great time chatting with him. And gentlemen, you both have been friends with Zach for a bit now, and your reaction. So Chris Miller, take it away.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a great hire for R7, and I know Zach will do a really good job. He's a great guy. He's a lot of fun to be around, and just I think he's a solid asset for the school.
I agree, and one thing about Zach is he's very dedicated to the younger classmen, and I think he'll develop a program out there from the bottom up, and something that that school's very prideful on their students at every level, and so I think he'll do a really good job out there, and Jefferson's going to gain a quality guy and a quality coach, and they're going to be something to test for. Give him a few years down there for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So challenging area of basketball. It just probably got even more challenging with his addition coming in, and going to provide more competition for the Herculaneums and the St. Pius X of the world. So that's one bit of news. Another bit of news sitting next to me here. Chris Miller has signed on with St. Pius X High School. Has been announced and made official as a full-time staff member in addition to his coaching duties. 1 year after joining the boys basketball staff. So on behalf of St. Pius X, Chris, welcome.
Thanks.
So you're going to be the learning consultant. Can you talk just a little bit about, give us like a 30-second overview? What does this mean? What?
Basically, I'm going to be working with students who maybe need a little bit more plans on how they can, do better in the classroom, and working with teachers on helping these students if they need some modifications or anything like that. So I don't want to say it's SPED, but it's similar to a student services position, to where you're trying to help these kids do a little bit better, and especially when you have freshmen who come in from public to private. A lot of times they need a little bit of assistance, and you try to get them to the point where they don't need those modifications or that assistance by the time they get to their senior year. Do a little bit of instructional coaching with some teachers, and I mean it's going to be a lot. It's a new challenge for me. I've done a little bit of everything, I feel like, in my life at this point, so it's definitely a change, and it is a little, it's bittersweet for me because I've enjoyed the last 7 years out at Grandview, and seeing some new people every day is going to be a little different.
So, and on behalf of the school and in the administration, I can say that we're thrilled to have you there, and I think it'll be a great addition. The first full-time learning consultant at the school in, I think, school history. So to have you aboard and your credentials as far as your academic background is really strong. The coaching is a complete bonus to that, of course. So we're really excited.
I thought that was a detriment.
So
the fact that I can read and write's important, kind of. But
the coach, despite the coaching, we were able to offer you the position. So we're excited to have you in there. And then the last piece of news, which isn't necessarily brand new news or breaking or anything, but anybody out there looking for an athletic director's position, the Windsor job has opened up. So, Riley, what do you think? That's got to be a pretty decent job for a school that size, and they seem to take care of their kids over there, so it could be an attractive job for somebody.
Yeah, I think, definitely is, and it seems like, that position there is a quality position. They got very good support from administration there, and I know a lot of people that are teaching up there, been there for many years too as well, and it's a place to work. So, that would be a good AD position for somebody to kind of get involved with. Maybe even a younger person that's just getting started or getting an administration degree and wants to get their feet wet a little bit. But I think that's a great position in a great school district.
Yep. So we're going to have a couple, actually 3 different segments tonight. We're going to talk about a few different things tonight. Leading off, we're going to talk to the coaches a little bit about some looking back on some of their favorite seasons that they've had, and talking about the experience of coaching against friends. These two don't have to deal with it because it's guys against girls here. Mm-hmm. But if Coach Jarvis was here with us, he'd certainly have something to say coaching against Coach Miller here. But in each case, they've coached against gentlemen and folks that they've been friends with, and how you deal with that. Segment 2, we're going to talk about the role of the parent as a student-athlete mentor and a support structure, and the transition from middle school to high school to college for that. I added this one in there myself, and it has nothing to do with progressing the role of the parent, but what's the dumbest thing you've ever heard a parent yell from the stands in the last X number of years? And Ray and I have some examples of that I think we can share from our time as broadcasters. And then we want to talk a little bit about what some of the colleges are doing, making some hybrid-type plans for the fall in anticipation of a possible COVID wave or new wave in the wintertime, and we'll go over that a little bit, see what you guys think as educators, what that would mean. And then the last segment 3, for the last time, we're going to talk about The Last Dance, because that ended up here this week. We're going to find out if Riley Blair's caught up on watching the Last Dance. We'll lead in with that. Talk a little bit about Jordan, talk about who we'd like to see next. I certainly think a Jason Jarvis Last Dance special produced by Livestream STL could garner
I'm all over that.
some reviews. So we'll be doing that, and then talking about questions from the audience. So for those of you out there, if you got any questions about any of those areas, please shoot those out over to us, and we'll see them. Let's see, Ray's got about 30 different channels he's on these days. So if it's Roku, if it's YouTube, if it's Livestream, if it's smoke signals, however you're receiving the show,
yeah, we've got them all.
Come in and let us know. So gentlemen, let's kind of take it away, and let's talk about this favorite season you've coached. I've got a couple follow-up questions for that, but Riley, let's start with you. How many years have you completed as a head coach?
This as a head coach at Herculaneum, this is the 11th year. This will be 11th coming up here. And as a coach, every year is different, and I can't say that I've had a favorite season, but I've had some very memorable seasons. One of my most memorable seasons is the 2011-12 season. First time we were able to get to a district championship game. Had a decent lead with about 3 minutes to go, and our point guard fouls out of the game and had to bring in a freshman. I hadn't had a lot of varsity experience as a point guard, and kind of the wheels fell off and ended up getting beat by one at the buzzer at a district championship game. So very memorable season there. And then, about 3 years ago, we went 22-4, the first time since 1996 that we've had a 20-win season in Herculaneum girls basketball history. We went 22-4, and we're ranked number 2 in the small school in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch for about 3 or 4 weeks there in a row. And so it was a very quality season. We started the year out 14-0 before we got our first defeats, and so it was a fun season. And then the last couple seasons that I tell you what, we really bumped up our schedule and started competing against a lot of bigger, tougher schools, and just trying to compete and make our kids a little bit better. And the last couple seasons we went both years we've went 19-7, and just a seasons that I think our kids grew as players, but our program grew tenfold with the playing different competition and better competition and bigger schools. I think our kids just learned how to compete against better competition, and I think it helped us down the road. But more importantly, I think it helped our kids understand that not everything is just icing on the cake. You got to work hard at everything you do and to be successful and to get to that point. So, that, and then I'll go back to my first year ever coaching at Herculaneum as the girls coach, and I remember it very well getting the phone call in late June that I was going to be hired as the head girls basketball coach. I was already on staff there as the freshman boys coach and been there for 5 years, and so I kind of knew the program and knew where it was at, and took over for Josh Dorr, who left to go out to Clinton, Illinois, Missouri, and so it was a very memorable season just because it was my first head coaching position, and had a lot of kids that I already knew going in because I had our freshman boys had scrimmaged the girls the year before a lot in practice, and just so I knew a lot of the kids and I knew a lot of the tendencies of what they did. So, but more importantly, I think that season was memorable for me because it gave me an opportunity to see what kind of person and a kind of coach I was, and to learn how to handle different multiple personalities on the female side compared to the boys side. I tell you what, you change a lot of things when it comes to that. And so with that being said, I think that's a favorite season. On the girls side, I will go back to when I was a boys varsity assistant in 2010. We won a district title there, and first one since I think it was 1996 as well on the boys side, so it had been a few years. And what a great opportunity for our school, and what a great thing to be a part of that. And it was just an awesome experience to see the excitement amongst the community when that happened, and that a lot of people take that for granted. But I think if you ask any of those kids that were on that team, that's one of the most memorable moments of probably their high school career was winning a district title. And I know you, for instance, this season, I know you've asked some of those kids on your team. I guarantee you they'll say that's probably one of the most memorable moments in their high school career was winning a district title. So it was definitely for me as a coach. I still remember it like it was just yesterday, and that was 2010, 10 years ago. So I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think a lot of things people take for granted. So.
And it shows just how difficult it is to win a district title because you guys have had a lot of success, and to have that in your memory so ingrained that because it's so precious to get it even that long ago.
Right.
And it was a huge deal at St. Pius for Chris Miller when he comes in his first year. They win the district title because they've been close a couple times but hadn't won one since 2006. So, Chris, did you get a sense of just what it meant to a lot of the people associated with the program when you were able to achieve that and get that win over Caruthersville? Or Steelville, excuse me. I'm thinking football. Steelville, pardon me. Can we edit that out, Ray?
Yes.
Okay.
It's live. It's live.
That's okay.
That's all right.
That's okay.
We don't have a dump button, so we're out.
Yeah. He'll dump out of me, and we'll be good.
So, no, I mean, talk about it. I mean, it was – I mean, I can't describe it. I feel like because any time that it comes up, I mean, people talk about that game and just how great it was, the experience, if they were there. They didn't think the shot counted. They think the shot should have counted. And, Karen, or what's her name over in Steelville. But
it would be a Karen.
I don't know. I just made it up because it sounded good. But, it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. And I don't know how many times I've watched it, or someone's like, hey, watch it. Here's where I was sitting, and that's cool to be a part of it. And I know the kids, more importantly, they get a chance to be able to talk about that game. They get to talk to their family about it. It's something they can always bring up and talk to their kids. They can point up to the wall and say, that was our team that won. We won. They can have their own crazy story that they bloviate and make how crazy the facts really were and stuff. But and that was special to me because that was my first district championship, and I've been around other coaches who it's hard to win it, and a lot of great coaches that I know have gotten so close, and it is hard to get into the state playoffs. It just really is, especially the larger size of schools you go up. The other time that I had a team that played for a district championship, it was when I was at Ellington. We were 10-15, finished the year 10-15. We somehow upset the 2 seed in the district semifinals, and we were just so fortunate to get to play South Iron at South Iron. And Coach Justin Ford, who's at St. Paul, was part of that team. That's how old I am. He's coaching now, and coaching against him while he was playing. But that was 2009. So it had been that long since the last time one of my teams had played for a district championship. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways even on that was just how you're just fortunate enough to be a part of it, and don't ever take that time for granted. So, I mean, I've soaked it up with this year, obviously, with winning it, and just because of what it means to the kids, to the school, to their families. That's the stuff that's most important, because I enjoy that part of it. I don't ever sit there and say, this is what I did and look at this. I don't give a crap about that. I like it for them because it's something they can always take back and share with others. I mean, I've had some memorable seasons. Favorite team. One of my favorite teams I've ever coached or been a part of was when we were terrible. Was when Coach Eddie was a senior in my first year at Grandview, and getting a chance to coach with Coach Davis, which is always a memorable experience, no matter what it is. And we had a lot of fun, and we were god awful. We only won 3 games that year and lost 23. We basically had 5 upperclassmen that played, and next kid off the bench was a freshman and a sophomore, and then a bunch of freshmen, and one of them practiced in swim trunks, I think. So it was a very memorable year.
That wasn't Coach Eddie.
No, it wasn't Coach Eddie. No, but he did. He did a good job. I mean, the thing about those kids that made those kids unique, and I'll tell anybody, and I'll put them up against anybody. You had Coach Eddie, who I don't think he'd ever finished a full year because he either got into it with a coach or couldn't play, or just kind of. And then a couple other kids who never played, and two juniors who might have played a little varsity here and there, and they never quit. And that was the thing. It was just as easy to go into that year knowing you're going to really lose to a lot of the schools we play, and they never did quit, not a single bit. And they stuck it out, and I think it shows in what they've done as individuals since then, that even if you ask somebody like Coach Davis, who's won 580 some odd, well, he's won 20 more. He may be up to 600, I don't know, this year. But anyway, if you ask him, that's one of his favorite years. So he's in the Hall of Fame. He's won how many games, but the group that won 3 games is one of his favorite teams. And it was great. And Coach Bishers jumped on here and talked about the white defense, and I actually got a chance to be his assistant coach for a couple years. As an assistant coach, the 2 years at Sturgeon were an awful lot of fun. We won a lot of games, 22-6, and then 25-3 with a team that I don't know how we won 25 games, and finished second in the district both years to Salisbury, who played in the Class 2 state championship game 2 years in a row, won it once, and that was a lot, of fun too.
And you've got a question on the Facebook page there from Greg. Is it Busher?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Coach Fisher there,
yeah.
who's I mean, I learned a lot from him too. So, and that was a lot of fun. And but I mean, it's hard. It's hard to put your finger on one particular season and say that this was my favorite team, because I enjoyed the kids that I've coached, and there was different moments and different things that made those groups special to me.
Right.
So we're gonna, I believe, take a brief break. I'm gonna throw it over to our host and overlord, Ray Halbrook, right now. So Ray,
wow,
take her away.
Overlord.
Oh, I've got a bunch of them.
Study the thesaurus beforehand.
I am the thesaurus.
You're watching the Coach's Box. We will be right back.
This Livestream SDL has been a huge asset for Jefferson County sports, in my opinion. I mean, getting these athletes the camaraderie that they're out there and people can see them. I mean, to be honest with you, I got a call from a coach yesterday about one of my athletes that said that they saw some of her games on Livestream SDL.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that right there instilled to me that this is important. This is important for those kids. And so, I think it's great, and I wish you guys the best. And if you're out there and you want to sponsor, this is a great opportunity for kids to support kids of our local kids and get them support and get them acknowledgement out there, because we have a lot of great athletes in this county.
We appreciate that. And at the end of the day, our mission is much the same as your missions, coaches, to help shine a light on these kids and get them exposure and get their name out there and help them. And if they can advance, they're better off, we're better off as a community, and that's why we're here.
And we are back here. Thanks for watching the Coach's Box. We're going to start our second segment, but right before we do, we want to let you know about the Vindel Services and Bada Bing Classics Car Show, Saturday, May 30th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. 11 trophy classes, free food and drinks. Give Vinny over at Vindel Services, LLC, and Bada Bing Classics a call, 636-638-2500. You'll be happy you did. Car shows are just around the corner with great weather coming, we hope. Also, don't forget, if you're interested in our Roku channel, this is how you get a hold of it. Log into videos.tkdssports.com. Once you do that, it's $4.99 a month, and that's basically about the same price as it costs to go to a high school game. You know, you get a whole month's worth. So check that out, our Roku channel. Much clearer, pictures, and you can re-watch it whenever you like. So check that out, videos.tkdssports.com. We're going to start round 2 here. Mr. Schutte, take it away. Oh, hold on. I could turn you on. That'd be great.
Let's go to Roku, where the shine off my forehead just comes in real fine. Awesome.
Oh, it did. I watched the last couple weeks.
So we've been talking about memorable seasons for our coaches here, and their varied experiences that they've had, and I'm going to give a brief aside about a coaching experience I had and see what this has been like for them. So I've coached as an assistant for CYC youth basketball, which of course is none of the pressure that you guys have, although I will say the 2 times I took over as the interim head coach because our head coach couldn't be there and we lost both games, I didn't sleep for 2 days. After that, it just ate me up that what could I have done better. But it was a team that at one point we lost every game we played one season. Then 2 years of 5-5, I think, 500 level team. And then that final year we went 10-0 in the regular season. And what was fun was the first 3 games of that season, my daughter's 6th grade year, we won games that we kind of figured we'd win, because we knew those teams from previous years. We knew the level we were at, and plus we knew how our kids had done. But the 4th game of the year, we played a team we'd never beat, 0-8 to that point, I believe, between tournaments and regular season, and we won. And the belief that came out of that game, that the kids trusted in themselves and trusted in what we were trying to do with them and teaching them the basics, and the resisting, all the years of resisting trying to play a 2-3 zone when you saw everybody and their mother playing it at the youth basketball level, and this 1-3-1 that it was so hard for them to pick up on, they finally picked up. The belief that we saw in the camaraderie, the esprit de corps among the team at that point was the most gratifying experience I've had in athletics as an adult, just being as a coach or a dad or whatever. So you guys have had that before, I think. But when I mentioned that to you off the air, you both said, oh, yeah. So you've had those moments where a team has come together. What's that been like for you, and how did it happen, and what was it like for you?
I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, I tell you, I have 2 experiences. One was 3 years ago. We I'll go back a 4th year. We'd played Principia in the district final game, and they just demolished us. They beat us by 40+, and they had just one of a solid teams, and then ended up running into Whitfield, and Whitfield ended up going and winning the state tournament that year. But I tell you, we got beat so bad that year against them, and they had everybody coming back, and we had everybody coming back the next year, and we played up in their tournament at that year, and went up to their place and playing for the championship game. And it was on a Friday night. I remember it very well. It was snowing outside, and I thought we were going to not be able to play, and a lot of experiences in itself there. But we came out and hit our first 6 3-point shots, and kind of put a nail right in the coffin early. And I think that our kids realized that we could compete with anybody at that point. And we maintained that lead and ended up winning, I think, by 11 or 12 that night. And after that game, you could see in the kids' faces and in their eyes that they realized, hey, we're something special. And that was the year that we started out 14-0 and just had an unbelievable year. And that was the year we were ranked. And at that time when we played Principia, they were ranked number 2 in the state, behind Whitfield, in in the class, in the coaches poll, as well as in the Post-Dispatch, and we ended up knocking them off on their home floor, and just seeing the experiences from the kids and making them let them understand that they could play with anybody if they really wanted to, and put forth the effort and the work and the game plan and executing a game plan. And I think that was important. And then, this year we had a game where we were playing Union. We went to Union and played them on their home floor. They were undefeated, 12-0 at the time, and they were just beating teams up. I mean, they just beat Lutheran South about a week before that in the tournament, and just kind of really put it to them there. And I just thought, well, we're in trouble. We're going to go to their place, and they had a really good player and a starting point guard. And I mean, she's a lefty. She's smooth with the ball, can shoot, can do anything she wants, really. And we went down there and scored 23 points in the first quarter. Now Paige Fowler had 19 of the 23 points, and they just had no answer for her inside. And I tell you, our kids, you saw the belief that we could do something special. And after that game in the locker room, I mean, every single one of those kids, they weren't jumping up and down. They were focused, and they knew what was expected of them, and they knew what the goal was and what opportunities they had. And I think that was a turning point in our season. I think we really started to develop as a team, and I think we went on that little run there where we beat them, and then turned around the next week and went to St. Clair, which is another very good Class 4 team, and ended up beating them on their home floor as well. And then went on that conference run where we were undefeated in the conference to win a conference championship. And I just think that game was a turning point because our kids understood that they could beat anybody if they executed a game plan. And a lot of teams, think about a game plan. When you put a game plan on a paper in front of them or on the board or whatever it is, sometimes I don't think kids take that for granted. But I think in those two experiences, when we executed the game plan, we came out victorious. And I think that was an important part for our kids to understand the importance of executing a game plan or doing things the right way, what comes about it. So, those are probably two experiences for me and for my program and for my kids. More importantly, I think if you ask any of the kids that are on those two teams, they will probably remember those two games in particular just because of that experience.
All right, Coach Miller, what about you?
Well, I mean, I'll use a couple. This year when we played Whitfield, it's like a lot of people have to talk about Whitfield apparently. Whitfield they were down this year, but they were young, they're talented, they're going to be loaded for the next few years. When you have freshmen playing on the varsity and you have juniors playing on the JV, that just tells you that there's talent coming. And they were really good. And when we beat them at home at our place, the way we won, when we're in the locker room talking about it, we just kind of looked around and said, well, I mean, we can beat Whitfield. I think we can beat some other people too. And it was just a good moment for our boys because we could always go back to the point where we can play with bigger schools and we can play with teams that are usually really good. Another year that I thought some things really came together. I like to reference that first year I was at Grandview and we were awful, but we were playing R7 that year, and they were kicking our tails like really, really good to the point where they were throwing some lob plays for dunks for some of their players while they're up 40. And I mean, as a coach, you don't particularly like that, but it's one of those things where you just keeping mental notes of this.
Oh, yeah.
Because now we're going to go back and talk about it and talk about it all off season. And this is a group of kids that hadn't won a conference game in like 3 or 4 years. So there was already enough motivation to beat somebody, and then we, we're obviously a little perturbed, but that's okay. And that next year we played them in the Valley Christmas tournament, whatever it's called down there at Valley Catholic, in the semifinals. And we thought we had a pretty decent group, and we were playing well at the time, and we lost to them by 1 point. And we had a shot the Kobe Klaus had a chance to win the game. He was quadruple teamed, and he missed it. And they were really excited they beat us, and that was pretty close. I mean, we played them pretty close. So again, we're talking about, we're right there, fellas. I mean, we get a chance to play. play these guys. We're going to play them in another few weeks. We're going to beat them. And we played them at home, and we'd already played 2 conference games at the time, so we hadn't won a conference game still yet, because we played St. Pius, we played Crystal. They were pretty good. We got whipped. But we played R7, and they were pretty good too. And when we beat them in overtime at our place, I mean, our kids were so ecstatic because, I mean, we won. I mean, and this is what we've talked about, and we chipped away at little things, and to watch that group of kids just start thinking, man, we can win this game, we can win other games, and that kind of helped us get on a little bit of a roll. That we saw them again in districts, and we beat them in the first round of districts, and it's really great overtime game again. And then we played Park Hill Central, and when they were good, and I didn't break the rules that time. So, that was what is true.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
That's a long story for a different show, I think, right? It's like, maybe that's a new segment. It's like, what schools have broken the rules that we can prove?
The producer's thrown it to my headset. There's been an automobile accident in Festus. Jason Jarvis heard you say you didn't like it when people were running lob plays up 50 late in the game, and he drove off the road and crashed into some business. So.
He also was going to say that I like pressing with my starters in the fourth quarter. But again, stories for another day.
So I'm going to audible because Jason's not here. I would really like him to be involved with this discussion about coaching against your friends and with your friends, because I think he'd have a lot to add to it. But I do have a question for you two related a little bit to what we're doing. I mentioned to you I couldn't hardly sleep after the two games I helped win or coach that we didn't win when I was the interim head coach of a 5th grade CYC team, for God's sake. You guys are coaching at a high level here at the high school level in a pretty competitive area. If you think about it from a peaks and valleys standpoint, do you get more satisfaction out of the wins or more angst out of the losses?
I get more angst out of the losses.
Yeah.
I mean, the winning is kind of one of those things where I like to use the Dr. Jack Ramsey thing. If we win, it's the kids, and if we lose, and just summarize it, to lose, it's my fault because we weren't prepared. So I'll end up and I don't even know what sleep is, so I don't know what you're talking about. Sleep
Jarvis says 30 up, by the way.
I just saw that.
30, 40. Tara Lynn's going to say it's probably 50. But, I mean, on top of the fact you don't sleep, my blood pressure is ridiculously high all the time. When I go to the doctor for a checkup, they'll say, what do you do? What's wrong with you? And it's like, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I mean, it's just, because it consumes you.
Oh,
and
yes.
if you take it seriously at all, and I know we both do, because sometimes we'll be texting each other even at 1:00 in the morning about each other's games. He'll bounce ideas off me, I'll bounce ideas off him, and that's one of those things. Is you're just sitting there, just. What should we have done different? We weren't ready. It's my fault, and what are we going to do differently next time? Right. I mean, that's how it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, there's many of nights, win or lose, that I'm always thinking, what should we have done, or moving forward, then we got a game the next night, or we got a game 2 nights after. I'm always looking forward to what's going ahead. So, I mean, after a game, my wife will tell you, I don't sleep very much after a game, because I'm always planning and preparing myself for the next day. So when it comes to games, I mean, honestly, I prepare more at night than any other time. Even for practices, I prepare myself at night, what I want to work on, what do we see tonight, or what do we see today that we want to do a little better, or we want to do something different with. And, so I would say that I personally say that I'm on cloud 9 after we win a big game or a good opportunity to win something, but it shuts off pretty quickly. But I always try to make the point known around the kids, and more importantly, hey, I'm excited about this. This is an opportunity. But as soon as I leave and head back, I'm focused on what's ahead. And as a coach, it's really difficult for you during a season. I'm guaranteeing if you ask any of these guys, coaches that are commenting out here tonight, they're going to tell you that sleep during basketball season is very minimal, and it's just part of what you do. A lot of people say, "Hey, why do you do this?" it changes your whole life for 4 months, and definitely it does. I can tell you my family doesn't see me very often, and when they do, I'm probably sleeping in the recliner for a 35-minute, 45-minute nap. So it's a tough situation, but you know what, I wouldn't be doing if I didn't enjoy it. So and that's part of it.
So I listened to a podcast today. It's Doug Gottlieb, the former player, now a noted basketball commenter, and a great podcast. And he did one today with Steve Hawkins, who I think I've mentioned before, who up until recently was the longtime head coach at Western Michigan. And I knew him when he was the head coach at Division II Quincy. And Hawks, he says a lot of great things, as befitting somebody who was a John Wooden disciple. His first job was working as a camp counselor, and part of his job was to drive Coach Wooden back and forth to basketball camp. But one of the things he said that stuck with me, because he was recently let go, he said basketball coaching is a wonderful profession, but a lousy business.
Agreed.
And one of the thing, and he didn't touch on this particular aspect of it, but one of the things we've talked about before and joked with it a little bit, and obviously it's not something we jump into too deeply, is the role of the parent in the game. And when the parents, to me, can sometimes be like officials. If they're doing their job well with their kids and things, you don't even really notice them that much outside of them cheering in the stands. But one thing with The Last Dance that we'll talk about here in a little bit, when Michael Jordan's cut famously from his basketball team as a sophomore, his mom didn't call the principal. His mom didn't call the coach. She didn't go to the school board and demand he be fired. She didn't go to the AAU coach. She sat Michael down and said, work harder. Yeah. And that was the end of it. And we've all seen that evolution. But talk a little bit about, Riley, I've noticed in particular, it seems like you have a pretty positive relationship with the parents for your team. Do you set expectations with them early? Do you address issues as they arrive? Is it a combination? What's that philosophy for you?
I started this a few years ago, and I think it's an important part of my program. And I talk about the family atmosphere of our program, and I treat every single person, whether they're a player, a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin, doesn't matter. When you're kid or grandkid or whatever is a part of our program, you're a part of our family. And so I make them understand that, hey, if you have a question or concern, or you want to be involved, or you want to do this, let's get you involved. Because I think more people are less likely to complain and argue and deal with problems when they feel like they have a voice. And I always tell them, hey, I will listen and I will take your advice. And I think it's paid off dividends for me as a coach in my program. I very seldom have issues with disgruntled parents about playing time, or very vice versa. If they do, it's a common thing that they talk about it. We talk about our philosophy and we move on. And I think our parents are very passionate. And if you come to any of our games, I mean, most people will say that our parents are very passionate. You can see when they feel like our kids aren't getting the right opportunity or the right call or right whatever situation, they're not afraid to tell you about it.
Is that the right?
Yeah. Well, no. I don't know where that would come from, but I think that is a big thing when you try to involve your parents and they feel like they are a part of it. They're a little less apt to cause turmoil, to cause problems, because I feel like that they need a voice as well. I mean, those are their kids out there, and then maybe they don't understand that thing. They don't see their kid every single day in practice, or why they're doing this or what they're doing there. And I just think it's an important part, and I've grown to do that over the last 5 years, and it's really helped out my program, and with our fundraising events and the things that we do. I mean, we have such a huge support, and I think it's important to do it, and I think that our kids thrive off of it. I mean, they see that there's so many parents support in the stands. I mean, we go to a away game, and we went up to Lutheran South for this tournament this season, and their AD up there was like, it's unbelievable how many fans you bring to a basketball game in mid-January, and away, 30 minutes away or whatever. So I just think that that's what it's about, and the parents want to be involved, the parents want to be supportive of it, and I think it's important to get them that way.
Coach Miller?
Well, I mean, obviously it's hard to wrap up into a little bow, but the fact of the matter is if you're going to watch your kid play, I mean, this is your child. I mean, they are the most important thing to you. So you're gonna be invested emotionally. Yeah. You're gonna be invested with time or money, and you want them to do well. So whenever, they're not playing well or they're not getting to play as much, that's something it should bother you as a parent. Now the question is how you handle it, and I always tell parents, and I'm pretty open to talking to any of them. We can have a chat all you want. And I've had parents who've been very respectful to disagreeing with things that I do. I've had parents who have been very disrespectful. I still listen to either one of them because I know where they're coming from. Yep. Their heart's in a good place. Maybe their head's just not in a good one. If they're coming across the wrong way. It's hard to. The one thing I learned a long time ago from Gene Bess, who's just retiring with 1,300 wins in JUCO and the most winningest coach in college basketball history, is the fact that he would always say that you can't please everybody. And as soon as you try to do that, you're done. Just forget it. Because there's only two types of coaches, the ones that get hired and the ones that get fired. That was always his famous saying. But the thing is I'm going to do what I feel like is what's right by the program first. So when I wake up in the morning or when I finally go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning during basketball season, the guy that I'm looking in the mirror is the guy I've got to deal with all the time, and that's me.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, I would love to make this guy happy who coaches one of these. I'm coaching his kid or somebody else. It ain't gonna work that way. We're gonna do what's best for all of us. What I feel like's better, and if they don't like it, I've always said this is just as easy. You can take it to the proper channels, and you don't have to have me as a coach. And the thing is I felt like if I'm transparent, if I'm open, if I'll listen to parents, even if they want to gripe, it's okay. I'll listen to you. And I might respectfully disagree. And I've had great conversations where it's been a respectful disagreement on what we're doing. And then at the same time, I've had some that went from seemed like, oh gosh, this is going to turn out terrible, but then it's turned out great at the end. And then there's some times where it's not going to happen. And that's okay too. That's the thing that the outsiders looking in, and they say that, even when officials are being ran out of the game by parents, their heart's in a great place because they care about their kids. The number one thing is how they should handle it moving forward, because I know from being someone whose father is very much involved in his coaching life, or when I was playing, and my parents were very passionate about when I was playing. I know they yelled at officials quite a bit. I know how they acted in the stands. Yep. I know how my father can still act.
Catholic.
Let's not bring that one up either. But the thing is it's how you handle it, because I know that I remember sitting on the bench. I'll have to front him out. When I was in 8th grade, my dad got tossed from a junior high game. Now, there's a long story, and he probably had a good reason why, but we won't get into that. Anyway,
he wanted to get to Applebee's early.
I remember sitting there, actually standing. I was actually playing. No, this is in Piedmont.
I think we need to get into that at the next segment.
I think your dad would be an excellent guest, actually.
No. Anyway.
I'm not saying with you here. I'm saying he might be an excellent guest.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking next to my buddy. We're standing there at the free throw line, and now this guy's getting tall. He's like, hey, that's your dad. I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, how do you feel about that? And I'm going, yeah.
Jarvis said, no, not your dad.
Yeah, he knows. So as a player, I can only assume how tough that is on you to see that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's like, great, coach is going to think, he's going to hold it against me. And one thing I will say, any coach worth their salt, just the old saying is, hold the sins of the father against the son. I've never treated any of my players different because of how their parents either acted or treated me. Yeah. And I don't think that's, you can't do that. So, as a coach, Riley knows, and Jason I know is going to chime in here, you know where they're coming from. You understand that. And it's just, you hope to, and I always try to tell them at our parent meeting, if you want to talk to me, I'm very open about it. Just come at it at this level, and we can have a great conversation.
And be prepared to hear some truth.
Be
prepared. Brad Stevens says he is welcome. He is open to talking to any player anytime about playing time, as long as they're willing to hear the hard facts about what the playing time's about.
Now, remember what he said, though, the player. He didn't say he's going to talk to the parents.
Yep.
That goes. I bet you all the money I don't have in my pocket.
Yep.
That's exactly the case too.
And we're getting Grammy music off the stage, which is our sign that segment 2 is over. We're going to throw it back over to our host and viceroy, Ray Halbrook.
Wow, another new
Viceroy.
one.
I
like
like
that.
it.
Yeah. Hey, that's at least a dime word right
Dime
there.
word. Well, Kevin Halley's watching. We'll get
Yes.
a ruling from him.
Absolutely. We will be right back.
What you guys do for Jefferson County sports, it doesn't go unnoticed by the coaches in all
that.
sports.
Yeah, I
all
appreciate
sports.
that.
You know, I have a lot of friends that are head, basketball coaches, and I've been, of course, around Jefferson County all my life and followed all kinds of sports, even before I got into the coaching. So what you guys do to help promote it with the kids is unbelievable, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
For you guys to take your time and what you do is awesome. Just awesome.
No, we try, we work hard, and we think they deserve it. The kids deserve to be able to be seen, and if we can turn out kids in the community to better them, get them in college, and make them a better citizen, that's the key. Hey, thanks for watching the Coach's Box. Ray Halbrook here. We wanted to let you know a little bit about our Roku channel. Any of my boys over here? I know Riley, you got the Roku channel, right? Say that again?
Yes, I do.
And tell us a little bit about the Roku channel.
Well, I talk about it every week, but I think the clarity of it is amazing. I tell you what, it's so crystal clear in the audio, the visual. Everything to do with it is phenomenal. I go back and watch. You're talking about the clarity of the bald head. I think it definitely shines on Roku. That's for sure.
I wear a hat for a reason.
Boy, I'm just dying to go into Roku now.
There you go, right there.
It's like when the silent movies went to talkies and Douglas Fairbanks' career just went done. High def is killing me.
Take pride in that thing.
That's
Take
right,
pride
that's
in that
right.
thing.
So get a hold of our Roku channel, videos.tkdssports.com. Once you log in there, you'll go to the TKDS Sports Network. $4.99 a month. The price of one game, one high school game. You can't beat that. You get that for a month, every month. So check that out, videos.tkdssports.com. Also, don't forget about our car show. Just literally like 2 blocks away from here is where this is going to be. Vindel Services is Bada Bing Classics Car Show. Saturday, May 30th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. 11 trophy cases or classes. Free food and drinks. Get a hold of Vinny. Jason Jarvis says it's shining right now. Get a hold of Vinny over at Vindel Services LLC at 636-638-2500 for more information. Saturday, May 30th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And finally, if you're interested in sponsoring with us here, we'd love to have you on our sponsor team here. Give us a call, 314-852-4398 or livestream stloutlook.com. You can have your name maybe actually sponsoring a show like the Coach's Box or Main Street Sports, or maybe something new that we may have up the way here, and we'll just kind of dangle a little carrot with that. So we've got another show coming, but can't tell you too much about that right now. But we move into our final segment here. Matt Schutte, take it away, my friend.
We're going to continue with our discussion about parents and their roles with the student athlete as they progress through their careers, and give you guys a little anecdote, throw it back your way. Coach Eric Lawrence, who's now the athletic director at Bayless High School, but your predecessor, Coach Miller at St. Pius X with boys basketball, was telling me a story about a student athlete he'd had whose dad during the games would coach from the stands.
Yeah.
And advise his son on the ways to run a play that was not necessarily in congruence with how the play should actually be run. And Eric pulled him aside during the game, during a timeout, and the whole focus of the 20-second timeout was to tell the young man, you can make your father happy or you can make me happy, and only one of us controls your playing time. And was the point received? I think it was. It sounded like it was. But what we want to talk about a little bit is the parent of the student athlete as they proceed from middle school, where the main role is to get them to the games, find a team for them, get them to the games, get them to practice, to high school, and then possibly on to college. Every middle school parent, right, that has a student playing a sport thinks their kid's going to play in college, and we know that unfortunately it's just not always possible for everybody. But what do you see as the responsibilities of the parents? What are examples of what you see as a great situation as far as what the parents are doing to help their student athletes?
Well, I think first and foremost, like you kind of alluded to, especially when they're younger, get them in the gym, get a basketball in their hands. That's when you invest all the time that you need to with them, is when they're younger, because they need to know, like, again, I use a lot from my own personal standpoint. My dad was a great player in his day, in his time. I didn't particularly like basketball for a long time until he moved to South Iron and everybody played. So, to not only get a little popular, I guess, and to have something to do with the people I was friends with, they all play basketball.
It was the
pick-up chicks. So there was a lot of that too. It's like, who are you? You don't play basketball, Okay.
And then
whatever.
they'd find out what kind of tractor you guys had and knock you right back down the social.
You drive a Ford, you're okay.
My tractor, sexy.
Yeah, I made that song happen. So when you're,
Oh my gosh!
I have jokes for days, guys. So
Call it like we see it. That's where it goes.
So not only that, I wanted my dad to come watch me play, and I wanted him to take an interest in the sport. So it became an all-encompassing thing with him. He invested his time to watch me and to critique me, and boy did he. And that's when it's important to do that, is at that young age, because then the kids know that you care and that you want to be involved. Right. And in my opinion, and anybody can correct me or jump on and comment about it if they want and say I'm stupid, don't know what I'm talking about, but as they get older, you have to become more hands-off, because if all of and I've had many, many, many parents who've wanted their kids to play at the next level. And it is extremely difficult. The 2% of high school graduates that move on and play sports at the next level, 2%. The fact that it is that hard, and I've had, again, college coaches that I've talked to, or just even being around Coach Best whenever I was getting into teaching and coaching. You don't talk to the parents. You're not running these things like, okay, well, we're going to run this offense. And if a parent disagrees with the college coach, he don't really care. He doesn't give a rat's behind about it.
Right.
So at that point, when they become high school players and juniors, you've got to be more hands-off and almost bite your tongue, because what is that going to do to that kid as he's being recruited? If he is good enough to play that level, when you hear Mr. So-and-so in the stands or Mrs. So-and-so in the stands, you're gonna, it's going to be like, was that kid's parents, coach? Yeah, that was. Oh, okay. Done. See ya.
We've all seen examples of kids if the parents are jumping in the wrong way, that it might be costing them a chance to get looked at.
Absolutely. And I know for a fact it's happened to not my players necessarily, but I've seen it happen to other players, because their parents are so involved in the wrong way at that point, when it should be more let the coaches coach and we support our kid. And you can have those conversations to where it doesn't make you look like a horse's butt and doesn't put a negative light on your child, because nobody wants to recruit a kid who's got that kind of baggage. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case, but it is the case.
Right. I know, and as for me, I think that the biggest thing about the difference progression between a middle school and a high school kid, I think, and you talked about it very well, as much as they can get in the gym and have a basketball in their hand and learning the fundamentals. There's nothing worse than getting a kid at the high school level that's never knew what a triple threat meant, or any of that, or play the defense when you're defending the ball, you're defending with the opposite hand, and when they shoot, just all those things. I mean, those are some fundamental stuff that it is very difficult when you are understanding that they're transitioning from a middle school to high school that they should already know those things. And when they get to you as a high school coach, you're wanting to work about X's and O's and different things that you want to focus on. So I think that in itself, as a parent, if I can tell you anything at the younger age group, get a basketball in their hand and teach them the fundamentals. Dribble, passing, and shooting. I think those 3 things need to be focused in your brain as soon as you start playing basketball at whatever age that is. I think those 3 things need to be developed and developed and developed until they are thoroughly in your head exactly what you're doing. And I think that's important because it all know that, but it teaches them the understanding that not every single time are you going to, be able to dribble the ball, or you're going to have to pass, or you're going to have to shoot. So it just makes them understand that the game is just more than shooting. And I think a lot of kids think now today it's all about shooting. Everybody wants to shoot the 3, and everybody wants to learn. So if you go into a gym, you'll see 65 to 75% of the kids shooting from behind the arc the first shot they take when they get in the gym. And I think that's a dying thing, because I think it needs to be where you. When I was playing, I went down and shot 15 layups before I made 15 layups in a row, and I moved out 2 feet. And that's just the kind of thing that I was taught at that young age. That's important. That 3-pointer doesn't mean anything if you can't shoot the layup. You can't focus on the fundamentals of the form and getting it down right and all of those things. So I think that, to me in itself, going from middle school to high school is an important thing for those kids to understand, and you as a parent need to understand that you need to focus on that at home, and not about, hey, how many rebounds did you have last night in the CYC game, or how many points you score, or how many steals you have. Hey, how much were you in the gym today? What did you do at the practice, or what did you focus on? Did you focus on this, and this? And if they say no, why didn't you? Why is that opportunity? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? And I think that, to me, is an important thing to get through to parents at middle school age kids, is make them understand that the fundamentals is the most important thing at that age.
And what I've seen as a college counselor at the high school level, but also as a parent of a middle schooler now, is imparting some time management skills on your younger people.
Oh, yeah.
Because the homework load that they get at the high school level, regardless of where they're going to high school, is such a fundamental shift from what they've probably had at the middle school level. And I'm not quite sure what the grade criteria is, but I believe if you have 2 Fs, you can't play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you can't manage your time effectively, you can't be a good student. If you can't be a good student, you can't play. And I think we've all been around parents that maybe emphasize the athletic part of it too much. Certainly there's those that rightly emphasize the academic part really hard as well. But finding that balance, I think, is an important part. And I learned something from Tilden Watson, the athletic director at St. Pius. It was an informative discussion he was having with a young person that mentioned that they'd like to maybe play ball in college someday. They'd been in the wellness center with them, and he goes to his whiteboard. He's with that whiteboard like you are with your legal pads. He really likes his whiteboard.
I have a couple.
And so he draws a table, and there's 4 spots on it, 5 spots on it. And he said, okay, we're going to count to 100, 0 to 20 on each of these. How hard do you play in a game? And a kid, of course, says 20. Out of 1 to 20, he says 20. And says, okay, how hard do you practice? 20. And the dad gives him a nudge. 18, 17, doesn't practice quite as hard as he always should. Okay, how often are you in the weight room? And Coach Watson runs the weight room there, and the kid knew the answer to that and hung his head. 10, and Tilden said, we're going to give you an 8 on that. How's your academics? Academics, quizzical look on his face, and said 10, and said, okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt there. We'll give you that. How's your nutrition? And the kid looked at his dad right away, and parents were looking back and like, well, what's that matter? And Tilden said, that's the foundation for the other 4. So if you don't eat right, you're not going to practice well. If you don't eat right, you're not going to perform well in a game. If you don't eat right, you're not going to be focused on your academics because you're going to be tired, or you're going to be wired, or something like that. Right. And we knew that this was the kind of kid that's eating 20 pizza rolls a day, and that's a balanced meal for them. Sack of McDonald's right after they worked out, which just completely nullifies what they did in the weight room. So they were adding up to well under 100. And he said, if you're not hovering near 100, you've got no chance to play ball in college. As it is, you're going to struggle to succeed as a student in college, let alone be an athlete.
Yeah.
So it was informative to see that, because it also got the parent thinking too, and that led to a follow-up discussion. How can I help him eat better?
Well, it's funny. I had a discussion, matter of fact, with one of my parents the other day on the phone, and he was discussing about his son playing and what he could do to be better. And the first thing I told him, I said, well, he needs to be better in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And he struggled in the classroom this year. And I've had players who go to the next level who didn't take the academic side seriously all the way through because they put a lot of emphasis on athletics, and rightfully so. If you want to get to that level, you obviously got to play.
Right.
But at the same time, how much better would your scholarship have been if I would have got the book stuff done too? I mean, there's one thing if you can play, you can play, but can you learn? Can you show that you've learned? Is your grade point average high? Is your ACT score where it needs to be? And and one of these parents came back and said, man, I really wish I'd have focused on that a little bit more because it's costing money now.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something that parents should understand. I mean, so all this time you're putting in with your kid, like you said, make sure they're doing the stuff they need to be doing too. Eating right, and getting their homework done and learning in school, which is kind of important, especially if you want to go to college. There's a lot of learning you have to do.
And if you're not doing well in the classroom in college, for a lot of these students, like we've got young men that are going on to play college basketball, but for the most part, they're combining academic awards with athletics. And if they don't keep their grades up, they're losing that athletic or that academic scholarship, and they're not going to get to play.
Yeah,
and they're not even going to get to practice. They've got that foundation needs to be laid, and a big part of that's just helping the students manage their time effectively.
Well, and Riley can probably speak to this too. Is if I know a kid's can manage their time and they're getting their stuff done and they're putting the time in, I can see the improvement in basketball. That tells me that I've got a player here that I can invest in.
Right, right.
And it also speaks to maturation.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And as a parent, if I can tell you something being a high school kid that wants to play at the college level, and I've talked to a lot of college coaches, and they'll tell you two things that are biggest criteria for them as a student athlete is, one, your desire to work hard every single day. There is not one day you can take off. And I think as a parent, if your kid is wanting to be playing at the college level, they've got to understand there's no days off. You can't come into the gym and say, "Oh, I just don't feel like practicing hard today." That's not going to be acceptable from a college coach. They're paying you a college education to come out there and play and give your best effort every single day.
It's your job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your job. You go to your job, and it's like, hey, boss, I just don't feel like
even
doing
at the
it.
Division III level.
Oh, it don't matter what level it is.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Division III, NAI, JUCO especially.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's such a cutthroat world where those kids are trying to get in for a 4-year school to finish up, and that can be the Wild West.
I'm going to say that there's a very big misconception about the level of talent that's at JUCO.
There's players.
Between conversation I have with parents, well, he can just go play at JUCO, and it's like,
no, it doesn't work that way.
No.
There's some incredible athletes.
And I think the other thing
level.
that I could tell a parent that wants their kid to be a college athlete is to take serious college, because a lot of college coaches will tell you that they don't want to see you out at 2 o'clock in the morning at a bar or at a club or whatever that nature is. I mean, when you step foot into college as a college athlete, you got to take it serious. And that is every single day. Everything you do can be scrutinized at that point, and everybody's watching. And everybody knows where you're at, what you're doing, how you're doing, who you're with, and it all matters at that level. So if I can tell a parent, tell your kids, that's the two most important things to me as a college coach has always told me. Those two things are most important when they're looking at kids at the next level besides academics. Those are the two things.
I've had a college coach call me. I've related on this show before, but I think we've all had the same experience. They never call to ask me if the kid can play because they know. They wouldn't be calling about them if they didn't think they could play.
You got it.
Do they work hard? Are they coachable? And sometimes, how are the parents?
Yeah.
And we as coaches cannot lie.
No.
If we lie about that and then it comes out with it, our credibility's gone with that school and with that coach.
Yep.
We're done, and the word spreads. Coaches talk.
Oh, yeah, they do.
That's why we have the coaches box,
That's
right, Ray Halbrook?
That's right.
So, now Jason Jarvis, I'm going to, before I kick it back to you, Ray,
sure.
and we wrap up, Jason Jarvis, when we were talking about what kids should know and getting on the floor. He said if they can handle the ball, they'd get on the floor. It's just like him to not mention defense at all.
Right.
So, yeah.
You got a point guard, Jason.
Wow. So, well, Ray, I think we're going to just about be ready to wrap it up. So we're going to chuck it over your way.
Absolutely.
Where are we next week?
We will be, I'm hoping we're going to be back at La Pachangas. I've got a call into Joel over there, and we're working on that.
Now, 3 locations. Which location? We're talking Herculaneum.
Yeah, we'll be at the Herculaneum location.
Riley Blair's location, I believe.
That's right.
The mayor.
We
The
may
home
have
of
ate there.
Riley Blair.
We may have ate there before the show tonight, Chris and I.
Oh, there you go. How about that?
Hey,
Good chance.
We're gonna have to check this place out though
Yep,
when they
yep,
pop back open.
yep.
Let's
Yeah,
let's support these. We've talked about this over and over again. Let's
Right.
support these local businesses.
Yes.
We definitely, absolutely. I mean,
Are we Tuesday next week?
we are Tuesday
I
at
believe
7
so.
o'clock.
Okay.
7. We're going to 7 now.
We're going to move to
Yep.
7 o'clock.
That's
And,
1 hour after 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the criteria that
before
got you hired. You were able to read a
Can
clock.
you read
Oh
a
my
clock
goodness.
with hands?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
my
you're hired.
Jeez.
Learning consultants.
Yeah.
These guys are something else here. I got to keep us all together here.
You know what? I'm
We're
going to
just,
save my story about the Springdale pool in 2001. I'm going to save it for next week. That's
Oh,
we're teasing
all right.
for
Feel
next
about
week.
this
All right.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have to remember that, so
Tune
don't forget
in.
that one.
Tune in. 7 o'clock Tuesday.
Teaser.
There might be something new coming together for the Coach's Box as well, and we'll just dangle that carrot as we speak, too.
Great.
So be looking for that as we continue to bring you, just great coaches aspect, coaches angle, if you will. Some of these questions I actually thought, kind of come up with and, just kind of put you guys on the spot, just kind of hear what you have to say. I'd love to see us be able to do like we kind of talked about, like a checklist.
Right.
A checklist from the junior high level, a checklist from the senior high level, and a checklist as a senior going into college. That would be really cool. So, I don't know how interesting it'll be, but I think that would be a really cool segment too. But, I know summer's coming around. We're going to start bringing in some baseball guys, and we're not far from football.
No.
So anyway.
I think if we put anything out there, if you watch this show and you have a question you want to ask,
Throw it out there.
Don't be hesitant to throw it out there, because I think that's a big part of this show is, hey, we want to know what you're asking, what you're thinking, what you're wanting to know, or vice versa. It's called like we see it, but at the same time, hey, you're going to ask us a question, we're going to tell you what we think about it.
Should Schutte be wearing a hat? Yes or no?
Well, part of the problem is I can't find a hat that fits this gargantuan skillet of mine.
that what it
This thing's
is?
got its
Sure,
own
there's
atmosphere.
a cowboy hat somewhere.
And the question
No,
would be,
I took a long night at Buckeye trying to find because
my
I found so they had this button-down shirt with the rhinestones, but the sleeves cut off.
And John Travolta and Urban Cowboy or something?
And it was an area they had these really good jorts, and I thought, well, that if I can find the
this guy?
cowboy hat that's going to tie this all together.
There's not.
That was going to be what I was going to wear to the Herculaneum girls basketball team trivia night. And I thought this is going to look funny.
I thought
just
that
kept
pink
trying.
jacket was pretty good.
I borrowed that. That wasn't mine. So I kept trying on cowboy hats. They sit on top of my head like they're a little party favor.
That's not what your wife said. She said she got that out of the closet for you.
So, no, she. I'm glad she talked about me. Actually, that's probably the first time in 3 weeks. That's fantastic.
Right.
That's wonderful. So,
That's right. All right, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching The Coach's Box. Again, if you're interested in sponsoring with us, we'd love to have you sponsor. Give us a call, 314-852-4398, or live stream stl@outlook.com. Sponsor with us. Thanks so much for watching The Coach's Box tonight. Have a great evening.